What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Power Play with CJ. Today we're focusing on the 10 questions segment with 10 questions on the New Jersey Devils going into the 2013-2014 season. Without further ado, will Adam Henrique live up to his massive contract extension that was just bestowed upon him by the new ownership staff? I think he will. I think obviously this is his team now. They had some very, very notable departures last two off seasons, and it's funny. 2 years ago when they were in the Stanley Cup Finals, it was Henrique, Center, and Parise and Kovalchuk, and now, they're both obviously long gone. I mean, not long, well, moderately long gone, and it's going to be tough. But I think Henrique's got the skill set, and they've surrounded him with a good enough supporting cast to make it happen. Speaking of Mr. Henrique, who will be around him on the top line? I think it's going to be open auditions, to be honest with you. I'd put Yager on one wing and then either Klo or Ryder on the other, but then all three are technically right wings, so if we get to move around, that's something to look at. But we'll talk more about all three of them as the piece digresses. But it's going to be tough, but I think they've got enough depth and enough firepower to not bottom out, which is good because they don't have a first round pick next year. Number 8. Is this going to be the oldest team ever? Obviously, with Yager and Brodeur, we should say the oldest successful team. It's really, this team's playing for a playoff spot. You can't say, if they bottom out, they can't bottom out because they don't have a first-round pick as a result of the Kovalchuk fiasco. So having said that, they've put some pretty good veterans on this team. And, with Elias and all those guys, already there, this is a team that'll make some noise in the new division, but we'll see what happens as the season goes on. Number 7, we talked about the old guys. Let's talk about the young guys. Will Adam Larsson break out this season? I believe so. One of the truly elite young defensemen in the National Hockey League. Last year, I think the lockout benefited him by allowing him to play in the AHL, get some more experience against men in North America, and I think that'll be something to look for. And I think he's due for a contract extension at the end of the season. And the new ownership has already shown that it wants to spend money and re-sign its stars. Obviously, just re-signed Henrique last couple days ago, and I think he'll be locked. He'll play to a level that warrants a big-time contract, and he will get that big-time contract. Number 6, will Merrill or Boucher be up? Yes and no. And I'll tell you that. I'm going to cop out on this one. They'll be up, but I don't see either one making the opening night roster. I think, if you look at the way the Devils have traditionally handled, their prospects over the years, it's not... They don't rush him, which is the way to go. Boucher's obviously scored 60 goals in the Ontario Hockey League, and we know what Merrill can do. I saw him play with the development team, 4 years ago now. Now it's making me feel old. Merrill and I are roughly the same age. He's 92. I'm late 91. But I think, Henrique and Boucher could end up in the same line together down the line. But I don't think it's anything to, be totally watching for yet. And I think time in the AHL, they both played in the AHL last year at the end of the season. They both played well, but I just think they need some more pro seasoning to really break out, and that's gonna be what's that's the nature of the beast. Number 5, what kind of reception will Zach Parise get when he comes back to the Devils on March 20th, 2014? I think it'll be a mix of boos and cheers. I think people recognize his accomplishments on the ice in New Jersey, but also remember that he left them after somewhat disappointing Stanley Cup final appearance last June, and signed him that to go home, which I joked about a piece a couple of days ago, actually today, the Ryan Whitney piece. The Devils have a history of guys that want to go home. You look at Clarkson this past year, Kovalchuk this past year, Parise last year, Rafalski, was it 6 years ago? A couple other guys in that mix too. So they lose free agents some free agents like Bobby Holik just go across the Hudson because Glenn Sather will pay him as much money as they want. As I digress. Number 4, Bobby O. If the team struggles, will this be an absolute fire sale? Yes. I think if the team doesn't, like I said, I think they got enough depth to hang around. But if they get off to a bad start, given the fact they don't have a first-round pick, I'd do everything possible to acquire a first-round pick. Now, this draft isn't as deep as last year's draft, let's be honest, and it just worked out that, the Devils got Corey Schneider, which we'll talk about. We're not done yet. But I just think you can sell off. The Dallas Stars somehow got a first-round pick. McDermott and a B-list prospect in Cody Payne for Jaromir Jagr. I mean, so the Devils could probably get a second or third back for him if he plays well, and the deadline need to move him, in February, March time frame, and that's something to look at. And Ryder could fetch a decent return. Maybe one of those. I don't think that they trade Elias, to be honest with you, but we'll see what happens. That's the common trend with the Devils. We'll see what happens because this team has a lot of question marks. One of those question marks, number 3, Stefan Matteau, made the team as an 18-year-old rookie last year, got sent back to juniors after burning a year of his entry-level contract, and then got kicked off the team where his old man was coaching. Now, his rights were traded in the queue from Blainville to Rimouski. Rimouski had a good team with first-round picks, Frederic Gauthier, Samuel Morin, a couple other pretty good guys. DeRossi had a second-round pick, the goalie. They got a good team. They have a pretty good shot to win the Q. I mean, not say a good shot to win the Q, but I put them in the top 5 in the Q power rankings. Now, if he's on that team, he makes that team even better. Having said that, because he was drafted off the U.S. development team, he can play in the AHL next year at 19. That's a possibility. And there's also the possibility he makes the New Jersey Devils out of camp again. Where's he going to play? NHL, AHL, Q. I think the Q is what's best for his development. I think he's got a good team up there if he does his thing. If the Devils judge he's ready to play against men again, I thought he looked overmatched at times last year. Put him in the AHL. I wouldn't, because of the discipline problems and everything else, I wouldn't put him on the NHL roster this year to start. I'd start in the AHL. If I think he's good enough to make the NHL, send him down, humble him a little bit. You see, this kid has amazing skill set. He's a physical power forward, but at the same time, he needs to grow up. And, that's just something to watch for. Number 2, speaking of physical power forwards, Ryan Clough. Boom or bust for the former San Jose Shark and briefly New York Ranger. Obviously, last year it was kind of comical. Not comical for him, at how few of his scoring opportunities are going in, both with New York and with San Jose. But it's going to be boom or bust for him his first year with the Devils. I think he's going to stumble his way to 25. Not stumble his way to 25 goals, but I think that the hockey gods owe him a few, and shooting percentage is usually a lot better than it was last year. I think last year was definitely a statistical anomaly for him, and he'll be fine. I'm not saying he won't. The best way to put it, sound politically correct at the same time, which is never easy. He won't totally be a bust free agent signing. He'll be a pretty good signing. Thought they overpaid him a little bit, but you got to do that on the open market with these guys. And number 1, is it going to be Brodeur or Corey Schneider down the stretch if they're in it? It's going to be Marty. This is Martin's team. Schneider's the future, which I think we were saying that in Vancouver last year. But they obviously gave up a lot for Schneider. He'll get his line. He'll get every opportunity to start. But I think a 40-year-old Brodeur is still, he's still itching to play, and he's obviously one of arguably the greatest goaltender of all time. And I think when I was in Jersey for the draft, when Roy went up there with the number 1 pick, the Devils fans chanting, "Marty's better." That was pretty cool. And but this is Brodeur's team. This is his last go around. This is his last chance. And like I said, this team makes the playoffs. They've got an intriguing enough amount of skill, defense, and goaltending that if the pieces kind of fall together and they get the right matchups, they can make some noise in the playoffs. I'm not saying this is a Stanley Cup Finals team. I'm not saying this is even a playoff team. I'm just saying if they can sneak in, they're a team to watch, is what I should say. Anyway, that's on this episode of The Power Play with CJ, the 10 questions New Jersey Devils face going into the 2013-2014 season. Stay tuned for more episodes throughout the offseason and beyond. Later, guys.